Alexis learns that vulnerability and marriage go hand in hand together.
It can't be one without the other.
Not in a marriage.
You need both.
Not in a marriage.
If you want a tight, strong marriage, you have to have both.
I think she got that memo.
I hope so.
Welcome to Cliff Alert. Today we're going to be talking about Lifetime Network's reality-based TV series, Married at First Sight, season number 15, episode number 11.
But before we get into it, please like, share, subscribe. Please click that notification button so you know when we upload new content. And we say thank you and we appreciate your support of this channel. So let's get into it. We're talking about Alexis and Justin.
Yeah, they had some unfinished business from their last episode that viewers got a chance to see.
Right, they were outside the restaurant.
Yeah, on the street corner, kind of hashing it out, reconciling the dispute that they had in the presence of the other couples at the restaurant, where Alexis broke down. Justin was not understanding where she was coming from, and he was showing his frustration. She was showing her frustration, and it just boiled over.
Oh, it sure did. And what was the end result of that?
Well, they began to understand, through the course of their quick conversation that, hey, look, we got to do something different. We can't not deal with, certain things like their issue of their communication issues. They got to be on the same page in terms of understanding. They just have to do a better job at understanding the other party.
And they gotta stop pressing each other's buttons.
Yeah.
That'll help.
Yeah. Anyway, they seem to have worked out their, for lack of a better expression, disagreement, and they hugged it out and smiled it out and said, okay, we got to do better.
My God, you know what? This reminds me of when we just got married and we used to argue over stupid shit. You know what I mean? When you look back on it, we've been married, 10 years now?
Mm-hmm.
And you look back on it and it's like, wow, that was so stupid. That's right.
Tell me something. I'm listening.
But it is what it is. Everybody seems to have to go through it, before they get gelling and being comfortable with each other. So I guess that's what's happening right now.
Yeah, and the operative phrase in your statement was stupid shit.
One of the things that will be helpful is if Justin starts being honest, and if Alexis starts getting softer by not revealing so much of their private situation in public.
Using discretion about what she chooses to
using
reveal
some kind of discretion
in groups or in public settings.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To make both of them feel safe in their relationship.
Right. I agree with that. So then we see getting a chance to meet with Dr. Pepper Schwartz. Right?
Yes.
And that was interesting. Dr. Schwartz gives not only Justin and Alexis, but all the couples an assignment.
Yeah, to write a letter to their younger self, and let them know that it's gonna be okay, because they basically made it.
Right,
and the lessons that they learned while they were coming up.
Right, and also too, there was another issue that was causing problems, or for lack of a better expression, friction between the two of them, and that was regarding Justin's dog Maya.
Yeah, unfortunately, Justin had to take his dog to a kennel behavior center, and Maya wasn't adapting very well. She still had aggressive tendencies, and it was recommended that she not return to their household.
Yeah, that seemed to be pretty painful for Justin.
Yeah,
and he started
I can
crying.
understand that.
And he's been with Maya for a long time, and
I would
obviously
cry
the
too. People are attached to their pets.
Yeah, no question. I understand that part of it. So he understands that hey, look, for the sake of their marriage, this is what needs to be done. So he went on ahead and did what needed to be done.
He doesn't seem as excited as he used to. It seems like you're looking at someone who is seeing who they are for the first time and may not necessarily want others to see it. So he's pulling all the way back, and he's a little more cautious of voicing his feelings around Alexis.
I think that's the case because of, in part, what you said, but also in part because he is very unsure about where, quote unquote, he and Alexis are as they move towards decision day.
Right. And I just think that the man we saw professing his love, and he's gonna fight for her and go through, is a different man. This one looks like he's a little more defeated.
Yeah,
and he looks like he is retreating into himself.
He did say that, or make the comment that, he felt alone, and I think that was in part because of what, not only happened with Maya, his dog, but also too what happened as a result of their last disagreement and or argument. Alexis.
Well, I don't feel like he doesn't feel like he can say what he needs. I think he needs to learn how to speak to her in a way that she can hear him, and vice versa.
Right, but he hadn't learned that.
Exactly.
Yeah, he hadn't learned
and
that.
we all got to learn that. Once you get together, you got to learn how to speak in a way that the other person can hear, so they can repeat what I heard you say was, and that kind of situation. And that's something you have to really learn and actively do.
Alexis is sensitive as well, and I don't know, what necessarily his point was by saying that, but it is what it is, I guess.
Well, I guess she is sensitive because she holds strong to that. Oh, I'm not going to be vulnerable. Vulnerability is being soft and weak. Her mother was a strong woman. She barely saw her mother cry.
No, she didn't. She never saw her.
She never saw her mother cry.
Yeah.
But we know that in the hard places of her mother's life, she hid that from her girls.
Which was
it's not like her mother never cried. She just did not see it. Or at the early hours of the morning, you hear that thing coming out of your mother's bedroom, and you may have, put that in the back of your head. But her mother cried a night or two. Trust and believe that.
Yeah, and I think after hearing this, Dr. Schwartz kind of makes a very, very important point to Alexis, and that is that there is no way that Justin and Alexis and Justin, can be married and not show vulnerability to one another.
But I gotta admit, as a black woman being raised by a black woman, your mother out the gate tells you gotta be strong. She tells you gotta take care of yourself. She tells you to be careful with relationships and what have you. And the only way you can really maneuver is to be very hard, very cautious, mindful that people can do you wrong, and sort of like withdraw from that. And mothers raising, some mothers rather, raising black girls don't teach them how to be soft, don't teach them to trust everybody, because that's a myth. You can't have your girl children out here, or even the boys, trusting people or being soft. You'll be taken advantage of. And no woman coming out of a strong home with a black woman gonna wanna be weak to anyone.
Right, but that's not the true or the total picture. Do you understand what I mean?
What do you mean?
In other words, women have to be, women teach their girls, like you said, to be strong black women and not to be taken advantage of, to be, aware of how people can, can use that to take advantage of it.
Yeah, get your stuff for yourself. You don't have you're not dependent on anyone or beholden to anyone to get what you want. You go and get it yourself.
Right.
And that could put you in a hard place. I mean, they talked about T.D. Jakes talking about women being raised to act like men, and sometimes that hard exterior, I guess, is what he was talking about.
Okay.
And I mean, I wouldn't want to raise my daughter being weak or vulnerable to what's outside of these four walls. You want them to have some sort of wisdom and knowledge and understanding of what people are capable of so that they can protect themselves. So when you say that's not the full picture, that's that's the picture most women take out there to protect themselves, because security is big for a woman.
Yeah, yeah, and I get that part of it, but I guess what I was also wanting to kind of convey is that it's not the only thing, or it's not the total picture, in the sense that you have to be able to distinguish who you can do what with.
Mhm.
You follow?
Yeah.
I mean, and for I guess it just seems like maybe in some cases that distinction is not made.
Okay, I understand what you're saying now. And she gotta find the right person to get to that soft place, because as they say, every pot has its own lid.
Yeah, so maybe that is something that Dr. Schwartz can kind of really get home in the way of a message to Alexis about about why it is so important to be vulnerable.
Yeah, because that's a hard puppy.
Yeah.
If you were raised to be cautious and be not taking anyone's BS and what have you, that's a hard thing to learn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I was no joke.
Well, I believe.
Shut up.
Anyway, later on in the episode, Justin actually asked Alexis to go take a visit with him to a park where he grew up playing and kind of spent a lot of time as a kid, and that was something that was very revealing for Alexis.
Yeah, she didn't like it at first. She thought that it was a little childish for him flying a kite, but coming from the Caribbean, grown people do that all the time. Yeah, I mean, they have competitions around flying kites
I've done that
as well
growing up
as a grown person.
Mm-hmm.
So, but he got out there and enjoyed himself running and let the wind taking the tail and doing his thing until it encountered a tree.
Right, and they could get
And
it up.
And
Get
then
away
that
from
was
the tree.
a wrap.
Right. But during that time, Justin did take the opportunity to kind of reveal some things about his upbringing that was kind of important. I don't know if Alexis was aware of it, but he was raised for all intents and purposes during some very critical years by his older brother, not his parents.
Right.
Right. And how that really impacted him.
Right, and his brother used to discipline him.
Right, and his brother really, during challenges and trials and tribulations that they would come to, would basically have a mantra for him to follow, and that was figure it out. And
and you can't do a whole lot with figure it out.
Well, that was coming.
If you don't know, you don't know.
That was coming from one teenager to another.
Right, exactly.
So that's about the extent or the depth that you're going to get in the way of any serious advice.
And that explains a whole lot about Justin.
Right.
Why he cries, why he shuts down, why he pretends at being something that he's not.
Yep.
Why he is so eager to have love and say what he's saying, but he
beginning of this process, he mentioned to us as viewers that in his past, a lot of women come check him out because he's tall, and then they wonder about his
package.
Yeah.
That's a myth. That's a myth. He no.
You're not buying it?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No.
Hey, you ain't checking for what he's selling,
No, because I think he's sort of figuring out is to assume someone's personality.
Right.
Because if you don't know how to develop one, you're going to borrow a couple of personalities or two.
And show them in the form of your representative
Exactly,
and not your
and
authentic
not
self.
your authentic self. So when he's challenged, he gets sort of like, he gets puffy and he gets a little bit like, you know, he gets loud, and that's what
Little
that's
obnoxious,
about.
little obnoxious, maybe.
Right.
Okay, I got it.
And start insulting people right and left.
Alexis gets a chance to take Justin to a basketball court. And they play a little hoop, they play a few hoops and all that. And Alexis begins to share her tomboyish side as growing up as a kid, and how the game of basketball was really important to her.
And Justin don't have any game. She was just moving. She was just doing the do around him, and he
shaking and baking on her brother, huh?
He couldn't stop her.
So
he could not.
So she would hit the crossover move on him and leave his shoes over there when he's over here.
Exactly.
And get to the hoop, huh?
Exactly.
Oh.
I mean. But hey,
that's
not every tall black man can play ball.
No, not even. And the thing is that she was able to learn a lot of life experience through the
basketball.
Game. Yeah, and and through sports, and I could identify with her really quickly with that.
She said she started playing when she was 7.
Yep.
And she understood that if she worked hard, she will get some level of success.
And she got a chance to reminisce through her scrapbook, her old high school scrapbook.
She had pictures
back in the
of
day.
Herself, her younger self.
Ballin'.
And it seemed like she had a lot of fun growing up and doing something that she loved.
Yeah, and one of the things that I think kind of connects that experience to what Dr. Swartz was recommending that she do is just this notion or concept of teamwork and not feeling like you have to do it all yourself.
All by yourself.
Right.
And she was able to understand that she could take that premise, that knowledge, that she can move that into her marriage life and know she doesn't have to do it by herself. If she needs help, she can ask for it.
Right, because she described herself as hyper independent. And
I'm not even sure what that is.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it means either, but I'm assuming that it means that, hey, look, she's
I don't need any help from anybody.
To a fault or to a flaw, and maybe over the top in that kind of notion of that concept of being, independent.
But I hope now that she knows his story, how he was raised, that would soften her towards him, and now that he knows her story, that he will get a clearer understanding of who she is.
So they back up off of each other in terms of this whole idea or concept of attacking each other, fighting and disagreeing.
Right, and putting their business out there. We hope they work it out.
I think they're on a road to doing so.
Okay.
I know you're not feeling that. I know that way.
Okay.
It's okay to be able to disagree. That's
I mean, this episode was insightful.
It was,
because it gives you a lot of insight about the people you're looking at and why they respond the way they do.
It was, yep.
So you can't hold fast to what they presented first. This episode sort of put some shed in more information about them as they are, that you didn't have before. So that I need to sort of recognize that and put that in the mix.
I think,
soften my stance towards them a little bit.
Yep, I think that's sunk in with both parties.
Yes.
Alexis and Justin.
Yes.
Justin and Alexis.
Yes.
They learned something in this episode.
Yes.
That's a good thing.
Thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing, and we'll see you in the next bit.
For sure.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.